Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today I'm going to make a scrunch gravity dye, but I'm also going to end up doing some low water immersion on this shirt. So I wanted to do a top scrunch shirt, and I wanted to scrunch more of the top portion of the shirt than I have on some of my previous gravity dyes. So that's what I'm doing. For my setup, I have a couple of plastic sawhorses. Then in between the two sawhorses, I've placed two long pieces of vinyl guttering, and over the vinyl guttering, I have a metal rack. I placed the shirt on top of the metal rack, and I'm scrunching it toward the middle. I'm only scrunching the top portion of the shirt, and I'm leaving the rest of the shirt hanging down between the two pieces of vinyl guttering. I've placed a plastic container underneath the shirt to catch any of the runoff from the dye. Then, to hold the shirt on the rack, I'm going to take my fingers and poke pieces of the fabric through the little squares on the metal rack. I'm also going to ice dye some socks at the same time. These are Nike socks, and I'm going to use a pair of the long socks to ice dye. I'm going to tie them like I would tie a geode. And I'm going to tie them individually. A lot of times I will just lay these socks on top of one another and tie them at the same time. That actually works just as well. I haven't ever had any problems doing that, but this time I decided to tie them separately. I'm using sinew, and I'm wrapping the sinew around the sock and pulling it as tightly as I can, and continuing on down the sock till I get the entire sock tied up. Just like with a regular geode, I'm going to vary the amount of distance between each of the lines of sinew. And I'm using sinew because it's wax coated, so wherever I place a sinew line, that area is going to remain white underneath after the socks are dyed. I'm going to dye the socks to match the shirt, and I've chosen a blue and green color palette for both the shirt and the socks. I'm starting by randomly applying the dye over the top of the scrunched portion of the shirt. I'm sorry I missed showing applying the azure blue from Dharma. I'm also going to add cobalt blue from Dharma and Wedgwood blue from Dharma. Then I'm going to use leaf green from Pro Chemical and Dye. I'm also using Lichen and Woodland from Dye Spin. I have the socks in the small container over beside the shirt, and I've covered the socks with ice, and I'm applying the dye over the top of the ice. I'm using the same colors on the socks, and I'm going to randomly apply them over the top of the ice. Now I'm going to add quite a bit of soda ash over the top of the dye, both on the socks and on the shirt. I'm going to add quite a bit of ice to the top of this shirt, and I want to make sure that as the ice melts and runs through the fabric, I still have plenty of soda ash remaining in the fabric to react with the dye. Then I'm going to place some larger chunks of ice that I've made from either Cool Whip containers or other containers that I found in my kitchen that I can use to make ice with. It's still about 90 degrees out here right now, so the larger chunks of ice like this melt slower and seem to work better than the smaller chunks of ice. I am going to use some smaller pieces of ice though on the other areas of the shirt. I've included some photos of how the melting ice went and how the dye flowed or actually didn't flow so well on the shirt. I added more ice, trying to encourage the dye to flow into the shirt or down the shirt a little bit better, but it just wasn't working. You know, every now and then I have gotten a shirt that just for whatever reason just doesn't absorb the dye. Most of the time when that happens, it's a soda ash issue, but I don't know that it was that this time. the dye just almost seemed to be repelled from the shirt. It was just really weird. I don't know. So I got some hot water and put it in a container and tried to pour it down the shirt to see whether or not I could encourage the dye to flow a little bit better. And as you can see, even when I did that, the dye didn't really even soak into the shirt. It moved down the shirt, but it didn't really soak into the shirt. Mind you, I have done a whole bunch of other shirts that I soaked in the same soda ash solution, and they worked fine. So I really think it was something with the fabric on this shirt. I don't know. It's just a really fluky thing. So after messing with it for a while, I put it inside a container so that it wouldn't dry out, and I left it for about 12 hours. Then I decided to do low water immersion on it to see if I could salvage the shirt. So this is what it looks like. Do you see how there are just large chunks of white on the shirt? The bottom part finally did go ahead and flow and soak in a little bit, but the rest of it I still have too much white on the shirt. I'm not happy with it. So if I went ahead and washed it out, it's going to look like this. And I don't want to leave it like that. I have some liquid dye in the lichen and in the woodland from Dye Spin, both mixed up because I made color swatches from both of those colors. So I'm placing the shirt down inside of a plastic dish pan, which I purchased from the dollar store, and I am drizzling and pouring both the lichen and the woodland over the top of the shirt. I'm really focusing on the area of the shirt where I know I have a whole lot of white left. I don't have a whole lot of dye mixed up, so I'm going to move the shirt around to make sure I get all the white areas covered. Then I'm going to squeeze the shirt a little bit, kind of make sure the dye soaks into the shirt. I was in the middle of working on videos, so I left this shirt just like this for about an hour or two. Mind you, I have not rinsed this out at all, so it is still full of soda ash and dye, and it never dried out. So there should still be active soda ash remaining in the shirt, but just to make sure, I decided to do a low water immersion where I add in soda ash. So to do that, I am using a tablespoon of soda ash and 2 cups of really, really hot water. I took a thermometer and measured the hot water coming out of my tap, and it measured in between 110 and 130 degrees, which is ultimately the temperature that I want. By the way, those are Fahrenheit temperatures. So I mixed the soda ash with the hot water, and I poured it over the top of the shirt. Then, since I wasn't wearing gloves, I kind of used my container to tap down the shirt to make sure it got fully saturated. I left this mixture for probably about 3 hours. Then I went ahead and rinsed it out of my utility sink. Just like normal, started rinsing in cold water to rinse out the excess soda ash. Then I warmed the water up to hot and continued rinsing in hot water to rinse out the excess dye. And I kept rinsing until the water was rinsing almost clear. By the way, I did the socks the same way. The socks went ahead and processed for probably about 24 hours after all the ice melted. I just left those outside, so they were sitting out in the heat in the muck. Then, once I finished rinsing both the socks and the shirt, I put them into my washing machine, along with some Dharma's Professional Textile Detergent, and washed them using a hot water cycle. Okay, so the shirt and the socks have both been washed and dried, and here's what they look like. Okay, so what do you guys think? I finally got the shirt fully saturated, but it took a while. Because of the issues with this shirt, it doesn't have the full scrunch gravity dye effect going on it though. I mean, you can see some of the scrunch in the top portion, and you can see a little bit of the gravity dye in the bottom portion, but it's not quite as pretty as most of the other gravity dyes that I've done. I don't know. It's okay. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not my favorite shirt that I've done by far. I tell you, this shirt would be really cool if you did vinyl or silk screening or something like that, and you wanted to put a design in the middle of the shirt, either on the front or on the back. I think this would be a great shirt for something like that. It is a cool blank canvas to do another design on. And like I said, it's not bad just by itself. I mean, the colors work really well together, but it's not necessarily the kind of tie-dye shirt that I was going for. I wanted to go ahead and show it to you though, to show you that if you hit something like I did where the shirt's just not working right, most of the time there's something you can do to try to help or to fix it. In this case, I caught it before I went ahead and rinsed it and washed it and did everything, and just went ahead and did a low water immersion on it. Like I said, it's not my favorite shirt, but it's not horrible. I wouldn't consider this one a success for what I was going for, but I also wouldn't consider this one a total failure. I mean, I have had uglier shirts than this one, that is for sure. The socks look really cool though. I think they look really pretty, and I think they match the shirt really well. So if you appreciated me showing you my not so perfect shirt and how I attempted to fix it, I sure would appreciate it if you would like the video. I know you probably don't like the shirt, but like the video if you appreciate the content of it, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.